Do a little bit of redirecting. There we go. Now I actually have platform area in which to place things, and you can use call-in services now. BR549, BR549, extension number 3, because there is no 1 or 2.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Okay, there is actually a real call-in number, and it's that number right there.
What's the call-in number?
I'm backwards, you guys, because in my Skype room it's looking. That's correct.
Say what the call-in number is. What's the call-in number?
My call-in number is 301-213-9349. And of course, prayers definitely go out to everybody that is stricken, and they upgraded. It was not Force 4, it was Force 5. That was a Force 5 hurricane that attacked OKC. Man, so? You know what? As if that town just can't have enough problems with, like, like people doing terrorist actions. Now they got to worry about, like, tornadoes ripping through the place and just ripping it to total mayhem. That sucks, man. You know, our thoughts and prayers go out to anybody affected out in that region, and we wish for them nothing but the best. And hopefully, all their loved ones are safe.
Now wait a minute.
Their loved ones are lost and not lost.
I got. Did you see Big Dirtification? I thank you, Big Dirt, for doing this. Did you see the video where the little old lady and the dog crawls out of the rubble?
Yeah, my wife was watching that and pointed it out to me. So, yeah, I did see that. A little schnauzer popped up out of the dirt, and they're like, he's okay. It's like, yeah, he's okay.
That's wonderful. That's great. That makes my heart feel good when something like that goes on. When the little dog comes up, and yeah.
I think the little dog was just smart and said, man, it looks bad. I'm ducking in the cover.
Yeah, no, I think he was waiting for his moment. He got to get his 15 minutes like everybody else. Yeah, I'm gonna wait here till the camera crew gets, and then I'm gonna pop up, and that's what.
You know, man, I gotta hide down here. I'm gonna pop out. I'll make a little show. Yeah, that'll work.
All right, man. Well, do it to it. I'm gonna sit back and let you go to town. I'll shut up and go.
All right, folks. Looks like we got a few people here, and always good times like that there. So, I guess let's just begin and call it a show. So, Beetlejuice, it's showtime. Okay, now, unfortunately, today's show, I didn't get a chance to go to Walmart, but we do have a new advertiser, and I actually do have a commercial for the new advertiser for, well, our channel. Have call-in information, have a call-in phone number there. I can take this out of the way because you guys don't need it now because there is a scroll. Good times. And if you guys want to contact us, of course, you wish to know about any of the shows that we actually have posted, go to Rich the Rich Hunter on YouTube. Of course, go here, check out our blogs. We cross-link with a lot of one another. You can always go to
the nerve to believe that in a puzzle
Countryman. You can always check out Avon CT Style. I mean, there's just a whole heap of us here. You know, you got Troy, you got Avon, you got Rich, you got myself, you have Castle Mom, you have Countryman, and of course, we also will have guest people checking in. So good times like that there. And of course, if you guys want to get a hold of me, we do actually have the telephonic device on operation. And I actually did an upgrade. So this is going to be the first segment I'm going to tell you guys about. Okay, this phone is the only phone that Verizon currently offers with a built-in keypad. Now, the kicker is, because it's got a built-in keypad, the top screen is fairly thin, okay? So, actually, that's not that big a deal. In its total essence, it is not a very thick telephone. Now, the power supply for this thing is laughable. The people said when they went to iPhone 5, I think it is, from iPhone 4, the first thing they noticed was the fact that the battery life just flat out sucked. Avon, thanks for coming in the room. Good to see you tonight. How you doing? Got show here. Got a whole bunch of other people here. Of course, we got Dirt was here. Some people's hiding. All right. Well, anyway, that's neither here nor. How the heck did Eric Holder get in the room? That's not good. That's not good. Okay. Anyway, so the power supply for this phone is made just as big as possible to fit in an envelope in which it gives itself. So it's got to give up something. Okay. It's a lithium-ion battery, which is good technology. There's no problem with that there. The runtime. Unless you do some background things and you turn off some applications, as soon as you are done with them, and as soon as you basically don't need them any longer, you tell them to shut up, you turn them off. That's what you got to do. Because if you don't do that, it's going to suck the battery down by having background things running and sucking batteries down, and before you know it, you got a dead battery. So this battery is actually a fairly thin profile. I mean, let's just put it into perspective here. This battery is... Of course, I'm going to have to go probably, I'm going to do oven porous first, okay? That's going to be quick and simple. It is 2.5 inches by about, I'm going to say probably about a scant 3/16 maybe about an eighth and a change about, not too terribly much. And it is roughly about 2 inches in length, or 2 inches in width, okay? It is a really small package. And for what these things do, they are incredibly efficient. And I think I just got myself a text message here, so I'll check that out. And somebody's checking in. They say, in a survival situation, how often do I shave my leg? Nice. Real nice. How often do I shave my legs? I don't shave my legs. I also don't shave my face, okay? I don't worry about it. Very cute there. And I think that was probably dirt. Thanks there, Mr. Speed Bump. Anyway, so the battery on these things is basically a compromise. They make it as small as possible, the energy density about as good as it possibly can be, until it actually runs itself down to death. Now, there is actually some cool little tech on these things. It's a little hard to see, but this little spot right here, hopefully it'll show up. I'm kind of cheating it because there is that delay thing, but there is that little spot right there. And what that little spot tells them is if you've ever drowned your telephone. And it's that little checkerboard type of thing. I'm kind of cheating angles here. Hopefully you guys can see it. But it's that little checkerboard type of thing there. And what happens is when that gets wet, it turns all one color. So that tells them that you drowned your phone. Now, the other thing, too, is it has good energy density. These things can take a lot of cycles. They actually have a lot of power on board for what they have. This actual unit, if I'm going to read the specs on it, is actually 3.7 volts, lithium ion, and it's rated for, I saw it the other day, hang on a second, where's this little booger at? It is rated for 1,800 milliamps. Now that's a pretty good amount of runtime, okay? The only downside is because the Samsung Stratosphere, and I do mean Samsung Stratosphere, not Stratosphere 2. The Samsung Stratosphere is the only one they have with a keyboard on board. And what this thing does is it's got Google, and of course, because of that, it's got Android. Android is really bad about, okay, the first generation Android is really bad about turning off everything that it has running. If you don't turn these things off manually by going into, what the heck is it? The actual program is going to be, you actually have to upload it in active applications. What you got to do is you actually have to click into the actual type of thing, and you have to tell it to stop. And you have to tell it to stop all these things, or it just keeps running them. Now, in the compromise of things basically being as small as this can be, with as many functions as it can be, as smart as it can be, something's got to give. Well, first thing and foremost, it's going to be your battery life. Mrs. Dude and I are intending to take a vacation. We're probably going to have some spare batteries, so we're going to have to do something else. And I actually went on eBay, and I picked up for, well, all right, let me put this in perspective. If you go to Verizon, you go online to Verizon, you buy another one of these batteries, they are ridiculously overpriced. Now, if you go on eBay, you have your choice of looking for a high price, a low price, a shipping price, and all these other particulars come into play. And you actually can pick and choose the best of the best of the best of the best and get your best deal. You can be your own salesperson. Now, what did I do? Because I'm looking at 1,800 milliamps, and I might kill this phone in the process doing this, but I want to show you guys this technology. This is 1,800 milliamps, okay? It's about as good as it can get in the package involved. It's a really thin profile. It is roughly about the same size, a little bit more than an old compact flash card. It's fairly heavy. Now, this one is actually the upgrade. And, of course, you actually had to get another cover to go with it. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to have to pry this booger off again. Bada bing. And everybody goes popping off. So that's cool, too. Now, what this guy is this is a replacement battery for this unit. And of course, everybody went flying. Now, something's got to give, because this unit is that much more. This thing is a lot bigger, deeper, and taller. This one does not look quite like the other. It is roughly twice as thick. Same basic profile, but it is twice as thick to make the room. Now, what had to give was basically this battery had to have room for all the energy density to take place in it. And the battery now has not 1,800, but it has 4,000 milliamps. Now, is that going to give you twice the lifespan plus? I would tend to doubt it. But what you can do is you can go on eBay and you can get one of these big honking batteries. And let me put this in perspective. Hang on 1 second here. I'm going to have to open up another tab on my browser, but I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I got this thing for. Give me 1 second here. I got into this battery, 4,000 milliamps, twice the battery. I got into this booger for the exactly ridiculously obscene price, including the back cover, for exactly $10. $6.99 for $11. $6.99 for purchase, $3.99 for shipping, and it wasn't expedited shipping, but it was pretty quick because it actually went in just like one of those padded envelope things. But basically, I got this big honking battery for less than the cost of a direct replacement from Verizon. I would tell you guys, if you want to do this and you really can just, well, deal with the fact that you can have a fatter battery, I would state most empathetically, if you're going to do this to yourself, have a bigger battery. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have the situation where you're going to have a battery that's just going to get tired. And these things all have lifespans built into them. They all do. What's going to happen is eventually it's going to get tired. It's going to have less cycle. It's going to have less life. Then eventually it's going to get to the point where it starts fighting recharging, and it just doesn't work any longer. Now, it would behoove you to at least have a spare battery. Go on eBay, get yourself exactly the equivalent for the thing, okay? I mean, I know this thing, it's pretty funny because this one says, let's see, it says, where did I find it earlier? Manufactured by the company, 3 digits, whatever, 3 letters, sell from Korea, manufactured in China. What the hell does that tell you? Samsung's a Korean company. Now, what does this one say? It just says made in China, okay? It's the same basic battery, all right? The only thing that makes a Chinese battery worse or better is the fact that the guys who either made it were on the cheap or they actually did it right. Now, compared to construction on these two, you can tell one is a replacement. You can definitely tell one is factory. One is prettier, one is less pretty. It's going to be covered by the back of your phone, man, and you're really going to notice a bloody difference. I don't think so. Now, here's the major difference, okay? Now, hopefully I'm still showing you guys this thing on camera. Now, because it is twice as high, well, you also have the major problem as, well, it's going to be taking up more space, okay? The battery that came with the thing fits in perfectly, okay? It's a perfect fit. It's completely smooth. You can snap the little flat back on there, no issues. Now, if you go with this guy, which is twice the battery, something's got to give. So you have twice the back. So that's the only major problem is this thing picked up more mass because this battery is heavy, man. I mean, you put that on this phone, and this phone actually gets quite weighty. Now, the other thing, too, is it gets quite a bit thicker. Now, to put this in perspective, this phone is now almost every bit of about 1 inch thick. So if you guys can live with a fatter phone, and this thing's going to make a squawk and everything as it goes through its reboot cycle, but it is turning back on, so it's going to be making its noise. So I'm just going to let it do that. Now, the other thing, too, is it would behoove you to have a spare one of these batteries at least on your person. Yeah, I really could use a new back for my backup as well. Ugh. And yeah, Rich, unfortunately, they don't have Viagra for batteries. They just simply just go tired and limp. But I'm going to have a little fun here. But the thing about it is the major problem with these batteries is they have a built-in amount of cycles. If you only have half the life left, why are you simply going to buy the same battery? Why don't you get a better battery? Now, the only downside is, of course, it's checking in, so it's going to be, screaming, honking, carry on, all the rest of that good stuff like that there. I need to tell it to shut up again. Okay, it's done scanning. Yeah, no, I don't want you to stop that. Stop that. Go to sleep. Now, the other thing, too, is they're more like little computers every single time you look at these things. You're talking about the back of the phone, Rich. Yes, there is a new back that comes with the phone. Let me see if I can't find the case that came with the okay, here we go. The case that actually fit over the back of the phone previously was this back. Now, to put it in perspective, it's not tall enough. It is just not tall enough. This is actually the back that fit previously. And it actually made a really slim profile. That is not going to go any longer. You can see just how much taller that is in cross-section. It is quite a bit bigger. Now, the only downside is of course, you're carrying more weight. But if you're carrying more weight and the phone runs longer, there you go. Rich is asking if they make a deep cycle lithium ion. While lithium ion is a lithium ion, so it's going to have as much cycle as actually what's engineered into it. It's as good as it's going to get unless they actually come up with better technology. Lithium ion is as good as it gets for right now. Now, there is other stuff out there, nickel metal hydride. Of course, you had your cadmium. Of course, you had your Your alkaline batteries, they don't recharge. Lithium ion is one of the few batteries around. You can run anything down to a partial charge. You can bring it up to a full charge, and it will never build up a memory. It is completely easy to deal with. Eric Holder, you and your boss seem to have a little bit of problem all on your own, but I'm not going to get into that. Crawdad, you're going on about 787 Dreamliners. Yes, 787 Dreamliners actually do use lithium ion, and there's a reason why. Because you can put more batteries on board if the weight load is less than an APU or an auxiliary power unit. You can carry some batteries on board. Now, what happens is when the batteries run down, the plane recharges the batteries, and it keeps itself topped off in that manner. Now, the other thing too is anytime you have a plane, you are making it just strong enough to be a good plane. If you add more weight, you're not making a better plane. You're burning more fuel to carry around all that extra weight. Here's a dirty little secret. If you were flying a plane from point A to point B and it is not a long flight, they will not fill the tanks. What they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, the FAA states we need to have a safety amount of 30% above our standard pilot recommended throttle setting for trip. And they know exactly how much gas it's going to take to fly from point A to point B. And they're going to say, okay, 30% more on top of it as a just in case we need to circle around for a bit. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to add any more gas on board because they're just hauling gas around. That costs more fuel to haul around this extra weight. They're not going to do that. So if you guys ever see a plane basically touch in and it doesn't refuel, that's why. Because they don't feel the need to refuel because, Rich, no, I'm just behind the scenes a little bit. Rich, no, as long as he's not a problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. But no, not an issue, not an issue. The other thing, too, is on your phone. Are you going to carry something that basically is going to cause you to carry a charger or carry a solar charger? Or can you make do with a phone that runs 12 hours longer on standby? Now, the dirty little secret is if you're in the hills and you got no signal, what you can do is you can take your phone. And I'm just going to show you on mine right now. You can take your phone, okay? You pull down into the menu section. What you do is you tell your phone to go into airplane mode. Now, hopefully that showed on the camera there. But what I did there by turning off in the airplane mode, what I did is I took my phone and I said, stop querying towers. Stop asking to see if there's anybody out there who can hear you. If you turn that off, essentially it goes inert. And airplane mode is made exactly to be on an airplane. It's kind of hidden on some phones. On some phones, it's a lot easier. On mine, I can simply just drag down the big taskbar, and it's right there in front of me. I click it off. I click it back on. Of course, it's a touchscreen. I'm now back on the system, and it's going to take a little while for it to reboot, call in, and say, I'm a phone. I'm on your system. I'm registered in. Recognize me. Now, just when you're flying and you don't want to have a phone basically querying and tweaking everybody out, it's the stupidest thing on the planet, folks. Now, here's the other thing, too. They go on and on about, you shouldn't have phones on board. Planes are engineered to take lightning strikes, okay? I really don't think 200 to 300 milliwatts is really going to do that much in damage as a plane is flying around on ground level, okay? There's just way too much power out there. There's way too much radar energy out there, and the phone is going to get drowned out, okay? It's like the matchstick in a forest fire. Sometimes these guys say stupid stuff, and it really just doesn't make a lot of sense if you know the science of it. Now, that is the first segment I basically want to get into, you guys. And I would behoove you to go on eBay, buy another battery. At the very least, buy another battery and a wall charger. So if nothing else, you walk up. If you don't have the charger with you, no big deal. It's about the same size as your phone. You slap that little booger in there, you plug it into the wall, it charges up your spare battery at the same time your phone is being used with the battery that's currently in it. Good stuff. All right, that's segment one down. Segment number two. Well, segment number two is obviously going to be, requiring some throwback. So give me 1 second here. Good shiznit. All right, so basically we have segment number one in the can. Of course, Rich basically bounced something off me, and I cannot do this. I'm still doing a workaround. There's a reason why I'm not going to do the, candy thing, because I really like playing the Bow Wow Wow I Love Candy thing. Unfortunately, when I do that, it becomes a AdSense thing that basically will not allow upload of the video. Never good times. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to do a workaround, and I got a commercial to play because, well, we got guys that basically want to sign on board to Around the Cabin, and they want to become our advertisers. So that's just good stuff. So basically, that's segment number one. Segment number two, we're going to have to safety check our firearm, make sure our firearm is safe because it's a 1911 configuration firearm. Gotta love them.
Well, you could sing it.
I could sing it, but you know what? No, I got a voice for radio. Ugh. And I do mean voice for radio, like the kind of guy you go, that dude can't sing, and that sounded really bad. Let's not do that. All right, so basically you got your 1911 format firearm. You have a 5-inch barrel out of the box, okay? That's kind of cool. That'll basically give you some pretty good ballistics. Now, the other thing, too, you can do is if you do a little bit of research and do a little around on the internet, you can find good parts. What kind of good parts are we talking about? Well, we can talk about like this guy. This is an 11-inch 1911 barrel. That's pretty cool. You know what? In Europe, they would actually fly with a pistol grip and, of course, a buttstock added on, and, of course, all that good stuff like that there. But because we live under the auspices of the BATF, you cannot do these things. What happens when you do that is they get very interested, and they say, you know what? No, you did something really, really wrong there. So let's just go a little bit comparative here, okay? So that's basically 5-inch barrel. That is an 11-inch barrel, which is going to give you better ballistics, but you still cannot put it on a sling or a stocked weapon. You probably could sling a 45, but it's not going to work so good. You know, I'm kind of drawing myself out of pattern here. Let me get myself lined up again. Okay, so basically we have 5 inches, 11 inches, and you still can't do this unless you're going to do an SBR, which would be a short-barreled rifle, and you'd have to go through the tax stamp stuff and all the rest of that happy horse mess. You can't do that to yourself. If you do that, you're going to get bit by, well, Uncle J BATF. Eric Holder, be gone. You're just not one of those guys I really want to talk to. Now, the other thing, too, is if you want to make it into a carbine, you need to have one of these guys. That's right. You need to have one of these guys. This would be a 16-inch, 45 caliber, 1911 barrel. Now, how cool is that, man? I mean, you basically can take this guy, and you can put this puppy together, and you then have what is perfectly legal as a 45 ACP carbine. Now, here's the dirty little secret. If you ever put together one of these guys as a carbine, yeah, this is a 1911 barrel, okay? I'm not spoofing you guys. It is exactly what I say it is. It is exactly what it is, okay? See, it's got all the good stuff on the one end for all the lockup, and it does everything the way it should. It's got the link pin, and of course, it is a big honking barrel type apparatus. So basically, we got the added 6 inches or 5 inches or so it is completely legitimate. Now, the other thing, too, that's cool is you can make your own carbines. Just make sure you do this in these steps only. Do not ever, and I do mean ever, put an underlength barrel or a barrel on a stocked pistol beforehand. Put the long barrel in the weapon before you do any further assembly. Put the barrel in first. That way you have an over-length firearm before you put the stock on it. Now, you're going, okay, well, how do you put a stock on a 1911? Well, 1911s are very cool in this one regard. You have the mainspring housing, which is this part right here. It has a cross pin. You pop out that cross pin, this guy slides out, and it's basically just a steel block. It's a steel block with a hole in the middle. It has a spring. It's got a plunger at one end, a plunger at the other end, and a little pin to hold it all together. It is a self-contained unit, and it slides in and out of the firearm without any issues whatsoever. Now, what you can do is you can take one of these guys, you can slide it out, you can weld on an apparatus, and you can make yourself a stock version. Slide it in, put back in the cross pin, of course, put in the 16-inch barrel before you do anything, before you do a stock arrangement, and you have yourself a completely legal 1911 carbine. Now, you guys are probably going, where do you source a 16-inch barrel for a 1911? Well, Actually, there's a company called Rotax, and they were making them for a while. Sarco was selling them. You find them occasionally on eBay, of all places. You find them also on Gunbroker, and you will find them in many other places if you're careful. Now, the other thing, too, is basically this comes out, and if you put it together and it works, great. If it doesn't work, you're going to have to fit it to the slide into the firearm. How you do that is you got to do a little bit of research, and you have to do some knowing of what you're doing. If you file too much in one spot, or you cut the hood too much, or if you start working on the feed ramp too much, you've just ruined a perfectly good barrel. Now, the other thing, too, these guys used to be cheap, okay? Oh no, an ad? Oh man, I didn't need to ad. Oh well, hopefully you guys are hearing me. But the thing about it is these barrels are around. Oh, I thought you had an ad playing. Rich, you can jump in here for a second. Do we still have ads playing, or are we done with them? Do we still have ads?
We still have some ads. I did not know. I thought they only saw, it should be they only see ads when they come into the room. Other than that, I don't believe there are other ads. I could be wrong, but the problem we were having is on my end, if I played the player and watched on my end in the back room back here, then you guys hear the ads through me. So if I don't watch the actual video, so I'm not watching your video in the room, I'm watching it before it goes to the room. So there's a time delay, but I'm watching it beforehand. I don't see the ads. If there's ads in the room, I don't know. If they leave and come back, they'll probably get an ad. Okay.
Well, seeing an ad is not so bad. Hearing an ad is obnoxious as all get out.
Right. So we still have those. They are working on the video player in the back, still trying to get the video player up. You would not believe all the complications to get everything to marry up together. It's worse than dropping your 911 all over the place and finding springs mixed in with your it's like dropping an ink pen spring and the 911 springs and trying to figure out which went where. So,
okay, all right. Well, let me proceed with the proceedings then.
Go ahead.
All right, so essentially now you basically have
wait a minute.
What?
Now you mentioned taking the back end of the handle off and doing all that.
Yes, exactly. All you're doing is you're popping out the mainspring housing.
I just duct tape a 2x4 to the a little short 2-foot 2x4 to the back end of it. I'm good to go.
All right, let me bounce another one off you. This is old school police special. You remember the mag lights the cops used to carry years ago that were like the 3-foot specials? They would really just wallop all get out of the guys. They would use those instead of nightsticks. They would take those. They would put the light side of the stock on their shoulder. They would brace the bottom of the flashlight on the pistol grip, and they would use that as a rifle stock. Mm-hmm. And they said it was surprising how accurate that setup was.
Now, they used to also sell a stock. Well, we used to be able to get a stock. I don't know if they sold it to civilians. But we used to be able to get a stock. How do you take the handles off that 911?
Oh, it's easy. 2 screws.
All right. Same thing.
Yeah, that's my next thing. You just basically stole my thunder, but I'm going to get into that too.
All right, How do you
scope a 1911? Very simple. You pull off 2 screws, and of course I'm out of my view, but let me move these barrels out of the way here, and I can show you guys. You have your 1911, okay? You pull 2 screws. You buy a mount made by Aim Tech. It bolts in place of the grip. That's all it does. So you now have a very spiffy scope mount on your 1911. Now the only thing you really got to worry about is your stock length, because if you don't have your stock far enough back and the slide functions, you're getting bit. That's one thing you got to engineer into, and you got to be really careful, because if you're not watching it, that slide's going to come back, and it's going to pop you square in the nose, man. It's going to hurt. Trust me on that one. Now, the 1911, I'm just using as a for instance, okay? There is other stuff out there. There's the TCU Mech Tech, I think it is. And what you do is you pop out your takedown pin, and it slips into the stock and basically turns it into a carbine. There is no paperwork on these things, and that is one of the beautiful things I'm trying to bring up to you guys and show you another way that you can utilize your firearms. These are perfectly legal carbines. it is completely legal to turn a pistol into a rifle, but you may not turn a rifle into a pistol. The biggest thing is it has to be of appropriate length. You have to use a 16-inch barrel, minimum. The weapon, when assembled, has to be no shorter than 26 inches. Overall length, it cannot be any smaller than that. If you do that and you put it together with too short a barrel, and you do that with an 11-inch barrel, why, you might get a visit and you might be staying over in Club Fed. Do not do that to yourself. Use the proper steps. Put the barrel in the pistol before you put the stock on the pistol. Use an appropriate length of the barrel before you assemble your carbine. Now, the other thing, too, is what I'm doing is I'm re-engineering a lot of stuff. I'm actually going to probably use this as a component that I'm going to actually put together. And I actually would have built a carbine in such a manner that the actual weapon is going to be inside a plastic stock. So probably you're not going to see much of the weapon itself. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the slide and I'm going to weld a cocking pin onto it. And I'm probably going to have, like, or I might just machine a dovetail into it and put a cocking handle on it. But most of this thing is going to be put together in such a way that it's going to be inside a stock. And the stock that I'm actually using is going to be one of those wankers they got as the, what is the high tech or high point, or what those stupid things. Hang on a second here. I'm having a brain fart again. I think it's the high point. High point carbine, I think it is. Yeah, High Point Firearms. They have the 9mm carbines. Well, they have replacement stocks. You get them for about $70 on eBay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that as the basis for my my contraption. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to make this, and the receiver, which would basically be the pistol grip area and the lower part of the actual weapon itself, is going to be the gun. Everything else that's going to bolt to it is going to make it the rifle. That is legal because the pistol carries the serial number. You make a rifle out of it, and it's completely legit.
Is it legal if you make it into a bullpup?
As long as your OAL is correct, yes. You have to use a minimum 6. You can use a barrel that's 3 feet long. They don't care, man. It just has to be no shorter than 16 inches. Now, the overall length cannot be any shorter than 26 inches overall. From front of muzzle to back of stock, it cannot be any shorter than 26 inches. That's the regs. Pistols can have as long a barrel as you want or as short a barrel as you want. Shotguns would have to have a minimum 18-inch barrel. Most people cut them at 18 and a half just in case they need to reface them again. Rifles can have nothing shorter than 16 inches, and overall length of all these firearms may not be shorter than 26 inches. Any of them. That's the regs. 26 inches, 18 inches, 16 inches. That's the only numbers you got to worry about. But the cool part about it is the 1911 has been around for damn near 90 years, almost 100 years. There's tons of parts floating around for these things. I got to tell you, man, when I snapped these barrels up, and I was snapping them up on Gunbroker, I was getting these 16-inch barrels for under $80. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much I was getting them for, but let's just say they were under $80. Read that as it will. Like most time you see, like, something as the 99, 95 type of thing, it was under $80. All right, these things now on eBay are at least 140. I got 2 of them, okay? So I'm not selling them, but I was snapping them up when they were cheaper. And unfortunately, the way things have worked with the gun stuff, they're not going to get any cheaper for a while yet. Until the stupidity gets out of the White House and things go back to some semblance of normality. Unfortunately, of that we shall not speak, but that is just how it is, and that's the sucky part. So that's basically something else I want to bounce off you guys. So that's segment number 2. Segment number 3 is unfortunately me having to shut up and play you guys commercials. I don't know if that's really all that bad, but we have our new sponsor. That's why we got ourselves a barbecue sauce, and this barbecue sauce is put out by a company called Feisty Pete's. Feisty Pete's. Barbecue sauce is so good, well, you'll hear. Oh, Feisty Pete's.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Feisty Pete. We've got a barbecue sauce that's so good, feel it on yourself, you will eat your arm off to the shoulder. Well, let me give a demonstration here. Here you go, partner. Dip your fingers on in here and tell me what you think. Oh, this is incredible. I've never tried a barbecue sauce like this. Give me the bottle, give me the bottle. I gotta cover up the cheeks of this bleeding flesh. That's right. It ain't just finger licking good. It's finger eating good. Hee-haw! Look at him go, folks. You pour this stuff on a steak and stand back. It's just amazing. Feisty Pete's, when you absolutely gotta eat every single morsel on your plate, even if it's you. Oh, it's delicious!
Yeah, folks, Feisty Pete's. It's so good that, well, you'll just eat yourself if you ever spill any on yourself. Don't do that. I know it's good, but I don't know if it's that good, but, let's just say it's probably really popular with zombies and cannibals. I'm kind of trying to make sense of something that Chat Admin is typing to me here. So let me just do it in the open. Chat Admin, unfortunately, you cut off about half of your statement to me. So if you could state that again, please. Unfortunately, it just didn't go through. But, okay, so that's basically Feisty Pete. All right, folks, I'm going to go back to what I was doing on here. But you're now going on and on about how do you shoot? How can you shoot? How can you afford to shoot? Ammunition is either unobtainium or it's really ridiculously expensive or it's just not hard to find. It's just damn nigh impossible. What I would suggest, and unfortunately it's probably a good training aid as well because you can do it indoors. So it's maybe not so unfortunate, but it is the fact you got to go out and buy it. The thing I would recommend, and I would state to you most empathetically, is I would say get yourself a air rifle. And not just any kind of air rifle, but get yourself an easy air rifle, okay? This is one of mine, and this is a really just unobtainium piece anymore. I mean, it's a really short stock setup. It is a Daisy 120. It is not the most accurate. It is not the most powerful. It's fairly quiet, and I'm going to actually break it open for you guys because I'm just simply going to do that. Now, there is a trick to breaking these guys. Normally what I'll do is I will hold midpoint in the stock, okay? Of course, you have the muzzle. You got to be careful not to hack yourself on the muzzle, but I hold midpoint in the stock and break thusly. Now, you basically break it open at full cock. You have access to the breech. You can introduce a pellet in there and all the good stuff like that there. These things are eminently dead simple to shoot. They really don't wear out. And if you ask anybody that has an old air gun, if you've taken care of them and you don't over-lubricate them, show 13, you're asking about the people at Walmart. No, I said earlier in the show that I didn't get a chance to go to people at Walmart. I didn't get a people at Walmart in because I didn't go to Walmart. So unfortunately, I didn't do that. These things for training are about the best thing possible. Okay, Chad, I copy exactly what you're saying. I'll be sure to make note of that. Okay, now the thing is these are eminently easy to utilize. I mean, basically, you just throw a pellet in there, you snap it closed, you fire it off. Bing, bang, boom, recock, reset, another pellet, bing, bang, boom, recock, reset. You can see how tight this thing is. I mean, it's like almost a brand new gun because the thing's just basically been banged around, but it has been shot a lot. The rifling of this thing is beautiful. The blowing on it is intact. It's not been messed around with it. It hasn't been abused, and I've done minor tuning and tweaking to it to make the thing work pretty good. Now, the other thing, too, is one of these things is an air rifle will show every single flaw that you do in terms of chat to you, the pellet, and the target. Because when you have that conversation, you are going to, well, you're going to do something and you're going to go, well, why didn't I hit the target? You're going to go, huh, what did I do wrong? These amplify every single shooting error that you will ever create in your stance, in your trigger control, and in your breathing. Okay, your brass, your breathing, you're relaxing, you're assing, you're squeezing, you're shooting, you know, all that good stuff like that there. You know, you basically got to, I forget what brass was, it's been too many years, but the thing about it is these amplify everything that you do wrong by gazillions because there's not a lot of room for adjustment with an air rifle because they really don't kick a lot. They really don't have a lot of report. And if you hold them incorrectly, they will amplify everything that you just did wrong. They say most of the time you hold these things, you do not ham fist them. You wish to basically just hold it. And of that, what I mean by hold it, I mean basically like usually just like rest it on your hand. And the other thing too is essentially when you're firing one of these wankers, is you pretty much can stop the pellets within a couple sheets of plywood. So they are absolutely the best training tool to have in your house. Show 13, you're saying airsoft. Well, I can tell you for a fact, airsoft is not a good training aid for one very good reason. Airsoft will never, ever outshoot a soft lead pellet that engages the rifling. The thing about it is also they have grooves on board. Any 22 mount setup will fit on these guys because they use the same 7/8 type of groove. The cool part is most of them also have sights on board. I don't really use irons much anymore because my eyes are just too astigmatic. I now really just rather use glass. So I have a very low power on this. It's well, I really don't like to talk about this in public, but it's a BSA cat's eye, and it's cat something else, and it's on the other end of the cat and not the eye. Get yourself an air rifle and start practicing up for cheap. I mean, you go to Wally World, a tin of pellets will cost you almost nothing for good pellets. You know, let me set this down somewhere. I'll basically do something untoward. The other thing too is air guns are cheap to feed. They really don't wear out. Show 13 saying an airsoft can be deadly. Actually, no, Show 13, an airsoft is really hard to hit somebody bad enough with for a very simple reason. It was actually engineered by the Japanese to be an airsoft firearm. What they mean by that was the plastic pellet would actually embed in skin, but the chance of you actually doing damage to somebody and potentially killing them is not easy. And there's a reason why they did that. The Japanese are very regulated with firearms. Excuse me one sec, folks. I need to take a sip. The firearms industry in Japan is actually really well represented. The firearms ownership in Japan is almost non-existent. Now, the thing about it is they needed something, because the Japanese, man, you go there and they make models of everything. They have the most ornate firearms models you will ever see on the planet, and they are accurate, man. They are scary accurate. But they can't have anything that goes bang. But they wanted stuff that looked good, but actually they could take it out and play with. And if they actually wanted to go out and, play tag with it in the woods or do, role playing or other good stuff like that there, they wanted to have something to play with. So that's when they came into inventing airsoft. Now, the big names, of course, would be like, your Tokyo Maru and all those guys like that there. I mean, there's Rich is having fun with me on the messaging. Ugh. Thanks, dude. Anywho, they needed something that they could shoot and play with and have fun with, and of course be the gun enthusiasts that they really truly want to be. Unfortunately, they can't with their society. That's why they came up with airsoft. Now, airsoft firearms, of course, are the big names like Tokyo Maru and, the adult electric guns. And, it is amazing the detail these guys go into. I literally have seen parts that will interchange with, like, Knights Armament stuff. It'll interchange perfectly with GG&G. It'll interchange perfectly with Arms Incorporated. It'll interchange perfectly with Troy. It'll interchange perfectly with Armalite. And the thing about it is Tokyo Maru is big enough. They've actually gotten the licenses from these guys. Even LaRue said, okay, you pay me a licensing fee, you can use my stuff. And what he said by use my stuff was like, okay, you can put my name and stuff on there, but it better say somewhere in there that this is not real. And Tokyo Maru is good enough about that, because they actually will. The unscrupulous Chinese companies will make a copy of that. They'll make an exact copy of it, and they will make it look exactly like the real stuff and sell it as quote-unquote airsoft. And you can always tell because, well, you go to any of those ads on eBay and they look a little too good. Like what the hell were those? The ACOGs for a while. They had ACOGs that looked so good that even ACOG was like, you know what, let's look at this thing up close. And they actually almost were taking them apart because they're such good copies. And they're like, wait a minute, they're all the same serial number. If it's this serial number, it's fake because we never made this serial number except for once. Rich is asking what's the biggest air rifles they make today. Rich, they make up to and including 50 caliber. I think I've seen a 20 millimeter air gun actually. So that was insane, man. Eric Holder says it wasn't him this time. Yes, Eric Holder, I know it wasn't you. It was the other lunatic in the chat room and having fun with me. Castle's going on about larger and larger water guns. Why, yes, there is some rather large water guns. They're attached to red trucks, and the firemen get to play with them. That's a nice big water pistol. Good times. All right, now, you guys might want to actually also have a little bit of fun involved with building. Okay, because the ammo is so scarce right now, I would save my money, and I would start scarfing parts, and I would build another upper. Case in point, you need an upper. So let's get an upper in here and have a little fun with it. All right, this is my Armalite, and I decided I'm actually just going to keep this. As much as it pains me, as much as Armalite has pissed me off, it pains me, but I'm going to keep this because I rather like this upper. This is an Armalite mid-length with a permanently attached compensator that I'm going to leave as it is for a very simple reason. It kind of fits regs in MD, sort of. Also, the other thing, too, it's a factory piece. If I really want to start busting it up, it's not going to be too hard to hack out the pin, pop off the comp, and basically put this thing together the way I think it should be. It's not going to be that hard to do. Now, this one's kind of old school because it actually is an A2 upper. It has the carry handle built in. It's got the Marine Corps style 800-meter sight arrangement I basically got when I went on Paris Island back in 1986. They issued me a 1986 Primo Special known as M16A2. Oh, man, that was good times. But anyway, the long and the short is basically now the main thing is most people go after the flat tops. This is not a flat top. This has basically got a permanently attached handle. So most of the time people don't really play with these things anymore. They're cheaper to get a hold of. What type of barrel holder is that dude? Not sure the tech name on it. Come back on that crawdad. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. What do you mean there, crawdad? I'm not getting what you're trying to say, brother. Now, if you want to build an AR, it's really not hard to do. You basically get a complete upper. If you want to be wild and crazy, you get a complete A2. You basically screw in a barrel. Let's just show you what it takes basically to put a barrel on one of these guys. It's pretty easy. Okay, I'm only going to take off one handguard. Underneath here is a barrel nut. You need a special tool to pop it out. Now, what you need is you basically take your tool, you adjust it, you get the holes lined up, put in your gas tube. Of course, you have your front sight base arrangement. If you have one of these barrels with the nut already on it, that is half your work done for you. Now, people are going to ask, what's this thing underneath here? This is basically a little doohickey from Black Dog Machine that keeps the bolt carrier from falling out. It's just a little piece of plastic. A lot of people basically do that with their 22 conversions to just keep the 22 conversion falling out. It's just a piece of plastic, 2 cross pins. That's nothing crazy. Now, this is actually not the strongest configuration of barrel, but it is a lighter configuration of barrel. Hence, it's better to carry around. It's going to shoot okay. It is not a heavy barrel. It is basically a medium profile at best. In terms of weight, it's not a very heavy upper. Now, I can put a scope on here, and it's going to be, pretty heavier, not much heavier, not a lot heavier, but it's not going to be a backbreaker. When you start going to target profile barrels, man, the only thing you're really doing is you're humping around a lot more weight. And if you're not a good enough shooter to utilize it, it's the same guy that basically buys a Porsche and drives to and from work with it. He's got a lot of car he will never, ever utilize. Same problem with a target barrel. You got a lot of gun that you're never, ever going to utilize. The handguard is the type that you have on it, which is called one of the ones that are flat. Oh, this is an A2 style, as opposed to the A1 style. The A1 style was the one that had the triangular with the slots on the bottom and the slots on the top. This one has basically a round profile that starts fat and goes skinnier a little bit. It's basically it's just like a ribbed circle. There's nothing really crazy about it. It's got some heat shields in it, and it's basically just 2 halves. Now, the thing is the old style ones went from side to, looking from the top, they went from side to side, and that's how they worked. Basically, it was two clamshells from the sides. This is 2 clamshells that go from top and bottom. Also, this one has an Armalite special style front sight base, which is basically 2 screws that clamp it in place, as opposed to 2 taper pins, which is the preferred method of mine. But I got what I got. Unfortunately, it's just the way Armalite does these things. They basically clamp these guys on there, and that's the means of doing it. There's 3 ways of putting a front sight base on an AR barrel. You can put the taper pins in there, which basically are fat at one end, skin in the other end, and they wedge themselves in the holes, which the holes are drilled at an angle. So basically they wedge themselves in there like the wedges that you put in the handle of like an axe. There's set screws, which basically just screw in, hit little dimples on the barrel, and then keep it in place, and you hope it doesn't move. There's these guys, which basically just clamp everything together, and you hope it doesn't shoot off in the process of firing it. There's a lot of guys that have these things and have problems with them, and they want a permanent Loctite on there, and they hope for the best. Only problem is, permanent Loctite and any Loctite breaks down at about 500 degrees at best. The only other one you can do is you basically have this type of setup, and then you drill a couple holes, and you put some set screws in there, and you hope it doesn't walk off again. Just different ways of doing stuff. The compensator, from what I understand, is actually not a bad compensator, but it's still a compensator. I mean, you're basically squirting a lot of gas out the sides, and you're making a lot of noise, and, you know, it's not my preferred method. I'd rather have an A2 style flash hider because that's what I'm used to. They're low tech, they work, they're cheap. Now, the other thing, too, is basically when you're building an AR, you got to know which one of the uppers you're getting. If you're getting junk and you don't read the, you don't read the codes on it, you don't know where it came from, potentially you got crap. And if you got crap, you're not building a good firearm. The other problem, too, is when you build a crap firearm, you're going to get crap execution. Ugh. Okay, Crawdad's asking what's different between a compensator and a flash guard. Flash guard is basically something that knocks down the amount of gas that's coming off and lighting off a second time once it gets out of the barrel. A compensator doesn't care about how much light it makes. It's simply trying to reduce recoil. 5.56/223 does not kick your shoulder off. You really don't need that much of a comp. You're really more worried about the flash, especially with a 16-inch tube, because the 5.56/223 ammunition most times is optimized for a longer barrel. So the leftover powder that hasn't expended itself in the barrel gets farted out and turns into a fireball.
And
now,
when you go to shoot, it flashes back in your face, and you get kind of blinded for a moment. Also, it lets the enemy know exactly where you're at.
Just like tracers. Tracers work both ways.
Yep, coming and going.
Tracers work both ways.
Now, myself, I said I like an AK.
No, you don't like an AK. You love an AK.
Well, there's a reason for this. Okay? I want you guys to think about this. There's a reason for this. Where was I?
You were in a sandbox and ammo was everywhere.
That's right. Ammo was everywhere. I was behind enemy lines, and everything I fired sounded just like what they fired. And if you've never been in combat or never heard different weapons going off, if you're over there shooting off an AK, everybody's shooting off an AK. When you fire off an AR-15 or an M16, an M4 or whatever, they know it's a different weapon, and they go, "What was that?"
Yeah, but what about the guy running around with the what the hell was that? The El Siki or El Khalid or whatever, like their version of the Dragunov.
Right.
When you hear one of those things capping off, you know somebody's really getting zapped.
Right, but they know that sound because it's them that's carrying it. They know the difference between their rounds and American rounds or NATO rounds. They can tell the difference coming in with this ammunition, with these weapons that are being fired. So if you're behind enemy lines, like if I was here in the United States, I got to tell you, a 22 and a 12 gauge are two of the weapons I want with me. Because I'm going to be able to find rounds for a 22 and a 12 gauge frickin' everywhere in the United States. Okay? I'm more likely to find, if we went room to room, house to house, I'm more likely to find 12 gauge and 22 rounds than anything else in this country. Well, maybe 30-30s. Something like that.
Right now I've been seeing, just like cruising around and looking at stuff, the stuff that is left in the gun stores is 270, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 300 Savage, 22 250, even 22 Hornet's getting kind of scarce now for some reason. I think a lot of people jumped on it. Right. Let's see, what else? The obscure 30 calibers, like like the 300 ROM, and just the really obscure, strange stuff. 32 specials around.
What you got to understand though is you've got to have the ammunition for the gun you've got. Otherwise, as we found out in Vietnam, you may take an M16 into the fight. But as soon as you get so far out, you've got no more ammo. That gun doesn't do you any good. It's time to ditch it and grab an AK, where you got ammo, you sound like everybody else. We learned that the hard way over there. You know,
Oh, yeah, you definitely go.
An M16 makes a definite sound difference than an AK.
Oh, you definitely go native.
Yeah, so that's why I like those, because my butt was hanging out over there, and that's why I grabbed those guns and why I like it. Also, if you get dirt in that gun and I get dirt, I can actually take a handful of sand and drop it down an AK and still cycle because it's so loosely made. And it'll work. If I take a handful of sand and drop it down the guts inside of a M16 or an M4 or anything like that, it's not going to cycle anymore. I've got to clean it.
All right, folks, so I got to basically break off here, and I got to let you guys know about the other stuff, too. We got to pay the bills. Of course, you guys definitely want to check out. You definitely want to get their stuff. I'm going to show you the big one for a change. What the hell? Definitely check out our favorite guy, our favorite woman, UV Packlight. The UV Packlight products, they are definitely still our sponsor. Their stuff is really still great. At the very least, go and check out their website. You know, the Larry lights are really good. Their technology is good. They always tend to work because, well, they just don't break. Check out uvpacklight.com. And, of course, I got to let you guys know about something else. And let's see what else we got here. I'm having a brain fart. Oh, that's right. Basically, that there's a special guest going on tomorrow in the Google Hangout, and Avon CT Style. So check her out. Avon CT Style is going to have a Google Hangout, which she does every Wednesday, and she's going to have a special guest. So do be sure to check her out if you get the chance. And she's on YouTube. No problem there. So AVON-CT, like Connecticut, and Style. So Avon CT Style. Do be sure to check her out and all that good stuff like that there. Now, I'm kind of rounding out to the point of the end of the show, but is there any questions going in from the rest of the chat room guys in there and all the good stuff like that there? So I guess I'm kind of like, not circling the drain, but I'm kind of reaching the point of conclusion. Got people starting to type, so I'm not just going to wait for that dwell to take over. I think I did well tonight. Thank you, Rich. Thank you. Thank you very much. Elvis has not left the building just yet, but yeah, it's almost time for a survey, so I will give you that show 13. I would definitely say, well, if not a show, not a survey, so maybe a Jack and Coke. Okay, Jack and Throwback. I said the C word. Sorry. All right, so what can we say in conclusion? In conclusion, I would state most emphatically, get yourself an air rifle, practice in your house for cheap. Eric Holder, just follow Barbara Streisand to the chow hall. I think you're eating at the same trough. Get yourself an air rifle for practice. If you have a pistol that's compatible, build yourself a carbine in pistol caliber. If you have a chance to do so, get yourself a second barrel for that same firearm with a different caliber. You got to remember, folks, the 1911 has been around for so long. It's been 22. It's been 38 Super. It's been 9mm. It's been 45. It's been 10mm. It's been, was that 45 Roland or some other hot rod cartridge like that? The thing's been around for so long, it is adaptable to a lot of good stuff. All you got to do is switch out the ejector, switch out the slide, switch out a couple other pieces. The basic gun works for all these things.
Can't we just use a 45 round and a half-inch tube and hit it with a ball peen hammer?
If you hammer it really, really hard. Actually, Rich, I wanted to bounce something off you there. You were saying about air rifles before.
I'm not Superman. You can't bounce it off me.
No. You were saying about air rifles before.
Air rifles. I was wondering what the larger caliber air rifles are, because I know for a fact, people talk about air rifles, and sometimes they talk bad about air rifles. But actually,
oh no, man, air rifles were great. It's just the technology about how you refill them.
Well, you know that they hunted and they still hunt with air rifles, and
absolutely,
actually Lewis and Clark actually carried an air rifle with them.
Absolutely.
And
they said it was more reliable than the black powder technology at the time.
And actually went off accidentally and hit a woman and knocked her out. Did not kill her, but it knocked her, it grazed her, knocked her out. And they all gained a new respect for that air rifle before they set out when they were down in Louisiana. That air rifle discharged and cold cocked a lady. So yeah. Yeah, they all got
Okay, now you were saying like bigger calibers. There is a company, I think it's Shenyang. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to look it up real quick, and I will bounce it off you. So let me see here real quick. You were saying like bigger calibers.
Well, yeah, if you've got like a 30 caliber air rifle, and how is it able to take different things? I mean, just because you have a 177, the problem people have is they believe that a 177 goes faster, so it hit harder than a 22, which is moving slower, and that's not necessarily the case. It all comes down to the distance you hit them at and the power that's behind it, not necessarily the size and the speed. It all comes down to what it's hitting it at. So, you know. That's
what it is. The company's called Samyang. So Samyang. Samyang Big Bore. They make a rifle called the 909 45 caliber that does 780 feet per second, and they do a 50 caliber that cranks out about almost 700 feet per second.
Well, that's 750 feet per second on a 45. That'll you can hunt deer with that big boy.
That is dead soft lead, muzzle loading rounds. So basically, you're talking about a 250 to 280 grain projectile at 750 feet per second.
Yeah, so if you're talking like, you know,
15, it's a deer rifle.
If you're talking 15 yards, you'd kill a deer, no problem.
Oh, you can kill a deer a little further away than that. They've actually killed pigs pretty good distance.
Yeah, you know, I'm talking about what you're going to hit them and where and all that good stuff. I mean, you can kill a deer with a 22 to shoot him in the ear. I mean, you know.
Actually, they did a demonstration. Gammo did a demonstration one. You know those alloy pellets they get out? They give you the really, really super high velocity? They've shot pigs with those things because those pellets roll out about 1,200 feet per second, and they've dropped pigs.
Yeah, it's the
with a 177.
Yeah, it's a placement of the pellet. If you the pig's skull is thinnest just back of the ears to either the right or left, but not dead center, is the thinnest spot on a hog's head. So
just don't break the bacon. That's my favorite part.
The hog's head and move off just a hair to the right or the left, and you know you can't even put a 22 through a pig's head if you just shoot it dead center. Yeah, so yeah, placement is a big thing, but heavy and slow. That's why I like my 45. You know, it's a slower caliber. Just
don't shoot it in the bacon. That's my favorite part.
There you go. Yeah, don't shoot it in the bacon.
Castle's saying 22 for the largest for air rifle. No, Castle. There is all different calibers for 22. There is 25. There is 357. There is 9mm. There is 45 caliber, 50 caliber, all the way up to 20 millimeter. There's a maniac making a 20 millimeter air rifle.
It's like shooting 20 millimeter. What?
I don't know what the hell he shoot with it, but he does. He made a 20 millimeter air gun, and the guy took about 2 steps back when he fired it.
It's like shooting a golf ball.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing
ball, something like that. Yeah, I mean,
that's he shot it a rifle way, and it just went ka-thwong, and the guy took like 2 steps back, like holy cow! And it blew a 2x4 in half. Yeah, it's good stuff. That's my kind of firearm.
Yeah. I want something that shoots golf balls. I got golf balls all over the place up here.
Well, they do make an adapter for an AR that uses the M200 blanks.
Yeah.
They're a hoot, man. From what I understand, it's like if you shoot that thing. Here's the wild thing. You know, of course, golf balls have the dimples, and they act like airfoils and what have you. If you take one of those things and you shoot it level with the ground, it flies straight for about 50 yards, and all of a sudden it just goes and whew, it takes off like a plane coming off a takeoff strip. It goes flat, and it just goes whoop, like straight up, and it takes off.
Well, they make for a bow and arrow. They actually make a pellet tube that it's like you draw it out like you're drawing an arrow, but the arrow never leaves the tube, and you put a pellet in the tube, and it actually the force of the bow pushes the pellet out. They do the same thing with a what do you call that thing? What's them? The rubber things they shoot each other with that hurt? Paintball.
Okay.
Paintball. They make a paintball for a bow. You can actually.
Now, is this actually like a plunger type of setup, or is it just like a rod that just taps it?
No, it's like a plunger setup. You pull it back and then you shoot it, and all the force goes behind that, so it doesn't bust your bow. And
so it's a spring piston setup for your bow and arrow. That's cool.
Now, I would like one of those and be able to shoot marbles out of it.
Yeah, I can give you that. No, that sounds like fun.
So.
That sounds cool. Just instead of using paintballs, you're using marbles. So the guy's like, yeah, I'll take you on. How far do you think you can hit me? And you're like, oh, a good ways off. Yeah, sure. Hit me with your best shot. Patang. Ow!
Well, I'll say, no. I use marbles for slingshots. Okay? I got a slingshot, and we shoot marbles out of it. I can get 50 marbles for $1 at Wally World. Sometimes they got them on sale. I can get 2 bags for $1.
Just like airshot, man. I mean, anytime you're shooting an air gun and you go to Wally World, man, the stuff is unbelievably cheap.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you can take rabbits and squirrels with a marble. That's no problem. And you can get steel and work practice with glass and work your way up to steel and be shooting steel ball bearings. Just the fact is, you want to get those back. But the marbles, who cares? But yeah, you know, let them go, man. Let them go. And if I could get that into a bow configuration where I could shoot the marbles, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Sounds like a plan, man. Okay, now since I didn't play anything that has like copyright on it, I think we're safe for uploading this show, correct?
You're good to go. Next time you just need
Sweet.
to
Oh, I want candy. Yeah, that's gonna work.
Yeah.
I want candy. Yeah. They're gonna think, dude wants candy, but I want like earplugs.
Maybe you could sing it in the announcer. Candy on the beach, there's nothing better.
And they start thinking about that hot chick that was in the video back years ago going, that body and dude's voice, no, please. No.
That's like me going, play that funky music, white boy. Play that funky music right. Play that funky music, white boy. Lay down the boogie and play that funky music till we die.
White men can't rap.
No. Yeah, it's not gonna work. No.
Well, the messed up thing is Wild Cherry was actually a bunch of white guys.
Yeah.
And they funked out like crazy, man. That song rocks. I still love that tune.
So, alrighty, gang. I'm done here. Dude, you did
I think
great.
I'm done too.
You did all great like always. Sign us out, buddy. I'll log this bad boy down.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for showing up. Remember Avon's thing tomorrow. Special guest. And she didn't tell us who it is, so it's a secret. So it's got to be something good. Definitely check out UV Pack Light and all the rest of our sponsors and good friends on the front of the place. And always check us out on YouTube. You know, we're all cross-linked with one another. We're always on Facebook. You know, I'm on there. 80s Podcast Channel, Dude Jerky, all the rest of that good stuff like that there. Rich the Rich Hunter, Avon CT Style. You know us. You love us. Come on and check us out. You know, we always offer up something that's kind of cool. And thank you for stopping in tonight. And I appreciate you guys watching and listening to my usual dribble. Eat good. Keep it a 10 ring. And as always, you know it. You'll love it. And all that good stuff like that there. See you guys.